but was very fragmented body parts. And these, we have been told, total up to anything over 5,000 pieces. So the only form of identification available is by DNA. So families who've been there have had their DNA taken. And so the process of matching is what is going to start now. We have been told the process is complicated, it is long, and it's even further complicated by the fact that there are so many pieces. So this is likely to take up to even 6 months.
Before the first batch left Addis Ababa, they were advised to wait for letters that would aid them to process the death certificates here in Kenya. The number of Kenyans who died in the crash is more than 32, since some had dual citizenship.
The number of casualties of Kenyan descent had been at 32. But this changed because some Kenyans were traveling on other nationality passports. So it has turned out that the total number of fatalities from Kenya is 36. Of those 36, we've received 33 families. And really, what we try to do as the embassy is to be at hand to support the families.
The airline has promised to keep constant communication with families regarding the DNA matching process. Some families collected soil from the crash site, which they say is what they will bury in a ceremony at home.
We were all very reluctant and very scared to tell families the devastation of the crash and that really everything had been destroyed, because you don't know how to tell somebody there is nobody. And the longer we stayed with it and the longer the airline stayed with it, I think families started to get very, very frustrated.
The issue of compensation will be handled under the Montreal Convention, depending on their age, life expectancy, among other considerations. This compensation is expected to be paid within 18 months. Daniel Mule, NTV.
And Siaya Senator and Senate Minority Leader James Orengo has accused Deputy President William Ruto of rocking the Jubilee Party from within and undermining President Uhuru Kenyatta's leadership. Orengo blamed the Deputy President of using his supporters to attack ODM Party leader Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Kiongozi wa Jubilee si Ruto, kiongozi wa Jubilee ni Uhuru Kenyatta. Na Uhuru Kenyatta alimshika mkono mtu mmoja peke yake katika Kenya hii, ambao ni Raila Amolo Odinga. Na wakati ambao wameshikana mikono, mimi sikuwa pale, lakini hata mimi sikuona Ruto pale. Ajiulize ni kwa nini siku ya maana kama siku hiyo alikosa kuwa pale. Kwa sababu, na kama amekosa kujua, tutamweleza ajue.
And still in politics, Likoni Member of Parliament Mishi Mboko has slammed members of Parliament who are associating Raila Odinga's name in the relentless fight against corruption. Mboko also reiterated that the MPs should also desist from intimidating investigating institutions.
Wabunge ambao kazi yenu hamuna kazi ya kufanya ni kulipwa na kuambiwa tu mkiamka Uhuru Kenyatta ana hivi, Raila Odinga ana hivi. Jamani, style up jamani, Fanyeni kazi ambayo imepeleka pale bungeni na kule Senate kama viongozi, na mufanye yale majukumu ambayo Wakenya wamewapatia. Na ikiwa wewe unajijua kweli uliramba, jitokeza useme niliramba jamani. Na ikiwa ukuramba lakini unajua chochote useme. Manake, why you every time talking about that issue, talking about that scandal? It means that you have a lot of information. If you have a lot of information, just go to the relevant institution and give the information.
The National Assembly's Security and Administration Committee has called for the expedition of the process of rolling out the new generation number plates. The new generation plates were intended for rollout as early as 2015, but legal hurdles compounded by procurement challenges have seen the rollout delayed by more than 4 years. The committee, chaired by Kiambaa Member of Parliament Paul Koinange, has made the case that the delay in operationalization of the system system has had cost implications on the country's economy and security apparatus. The January 14th Riverside attack prompted changes at the National Transport and Safety Authority after it emerged that multiple vehicles possessed the same registration.
It's not easy to duplicate. So in fact, the easy way to go about security issues is to migrate to the new generation. Are you saying it is a very strict process of ordering, and we make sure each and every number is signed for as they are being delivered.
It is a shame for us to realize that the phase 3 equipment that was to be purchased is between 3 and 5 million. And for us really to talk about holding a whole operation because of 3 to 5 million, to operationalize a system that is going to generate in itself almost $1 billion per year, is something that is not logical at all.
Security-wise, it's no good not to have number plates which are very modern with security features and all that. And second, it's also affecting in the economy of the country because there are people who are employed by way of having these number plates, and even the border, they don't have vehicles. And when they use vehicles without number plates, it also puts our country not very safe because we don't know who is driving this motorbike.
And Education Cabinet Secretary nominee Professor George Magoha has vowed to ensure funds allocated to the ministry are well utilized. Magoha was vetted for the position last week in Parliament and now awaits confirmation.
For the first time since his vetting, Education Cabinet Secretary nominee George Magoha made his first public appearance in Murang'a County during an education day at Pioneer School. Professor Magoha says a computerized system will monitor how funds in the sector will be managed.
As soon as I put a computerized accounting system on the comfort of my bed when I've gone home, I could trail how the money was moving and decide to ask, ilienda wapi? Then I go there to check. Then people stopped stealing and the university had money. So it will work also at the ministry if I get the help. But in order for it to work, I need the help of the people. If you are happy that I've been nominated, I am not Jesus Christ. I will give you the strategy and we work together.
Magoha, the current chairman of the Kenya National Examination Council, was vetted last week in Parliament for the position of Education Cabinet Secretary, previously held by Amina Mohamed.
The head teachers, in order for the new curriculum to succeed, please do not delegate responsibility completely. Because once you do that, you have lost control. Delegate, but still keep checking that what you have delegated is being done.
The Education Cabinet Secretary nominee requested the Ministry of Interior to help in fast-tracking issuance of birth certificates, especially to Class 8 and Form 4 candidates.
Some people have birth certificates, but they just didn't upload the right number. You give an effort to let us have birth certificates, not because the child will not be allowed to do exam. Children will do exam, that one I can tell you. But in order for me to catch the thieves, do you understand? That's what the president wants me to do, and you also want me to do. I need that every penny coming from Jogo House can be accounted for through the computer.
President Uhuru Kenyatta nominated Magoha for Education Cabinet Secretary to replace Amina Mohamed, who has been transferred to the Ministry of Sports. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Political leaders from Northeastern region are now vowing to block the approval of Professor George Magoha as the new Education CS when his name comes before Parliament. The leaders, led by Wajir East Member of Parliament Rashid Kasim, say the transfer of Amina from the Education Ministry to Sports and Culture was an affront to the community.
Professor George Magoha's tides and his approval on the floor of the House may encounter some headwinds as leaders from Northeastern region vow to reject him.
Amina has a credible credentials and she has performed over the years and she has performed while she was a Minister for Foreign Affairs with impressive CV. She was again be able to provide for certain the policy directions while she was a Minister for Education.
Wajir East MP Rashid Kasim has been vocal on the issue, arguing that several meetings involving political and community leaders from counties that make up the region have been meeting with the aim of strategizing on how to marshal numbers to reject his approval.
1 month prior to the examinations, that guy told us that exams Wajir, Mandera, Garissa, Ijara has become a hotspot for cheating. How he has known, we don't know.
3,150 students were given Y. In this county alone, we had 987 students that got Y. Out of the 23 schools that got Y, 17 schools were coming from northern Kenya.
The leaders say the move to transfer CS Amina from the Education Ministry to Sports and Culture docket was a demotion and only went to relegate the community's leaders.
It's an affront to pastoral communities, to people in this region, and to female leadership in this country.
Speaking as 20 million shillings worth of bursary checks were being issued for the Wajir East constituency at the Wajir Girls Secondary School, leaders who spoke also threw caution at men preying on school-going girls targeting to marry them off.
Tunaambiwa kila wakati wazee wanakaa wanajaribu kuchukua shilingi 1500, 400 na masla. Mambo ya kudai pesa, kudhulumu msichana na kuharibu maisha ya msichana na wazee wanakalia kikao, hiyo sisi tumekataa.
Kasim has invested in building 3 girls' schools that are now a haven for girls to attend school and run away from early marriages. Kennedy Muredi, NTV.
And some governors now want the allocation of counties increased to 40%. The county bosses led by Kiraitu Murungi of Meru said they're pushing for the increased allocations through their council to promote development in counties. They want the proposals included in the referendum.
Nataka tuongeze maendeleo hapa, lazima tuongeze pesa. Kwa sababu sasa ile pesa iko kwa county ni 15%. 85% imebaki kwa serikali kuu. Kwa hiyo tunataka tugawanye hiyo pesa. Hapa minimum tupatue 40% ya hiyo pesa ambayo iko kwa serikali kuu. Tukiongeza hiyo pesa, hata barabara tutaweka rami nyingi, shule tutajenga vizuri, watoto watasoma, tutaweka dawa kwa hospitali zetu.
Residents of Molo are vowing to boycott meat from a local abattoir, claiming that it is a health risk due to its proximity to the Kenyatta dam site. The residents also claim that the garbage is usually washed into the river during the heavy rains, which they say poses a health risk to residents living downstream. Additionally, they claim the fumes from the burning of garbage and the stench pollutes the air. The residents also fear that the dam site poses a security risk because thugs tend to hide there. They are appealing to public health officials and leaders to address their concerns.
Sasa kichinjio iko hapa, nyama iko hapa, sisi tumwakaaji iko hapa. Hiyo harufu akichomwa anaingia ndani ya manyumba. Na hatuna salama. Tumekonjeka kwa ajili watoto, hata tumekonjeka kwa ajili ya hiyo gonjwa ya chafu.
And away from Molo, Kikuyu constituency is gearing up to help contribute towards the welfare of needy students in the area who have been out of school due to lack of school fees. Students from all the schools in the constituency joined the 10-kilometer walk that was aiming to raise 10 million shillings towards the cause. Kikuyu Member of Parliament Kimani Ichung'wah said that the targeted group was orphans from the area and those who were from disadvantaged families. The MP further added that in conjunction with funds from the constituency's Development Fund Board, he would ensure that all beneficiaries are able to benefit from the same. Close to 2 million Kenyan shillings was raised during the event, and the MP is still appealing to all wishers to help raise more funds.
In Kikuyu constituency, we have an education foundation, the Kikuyu Constituency Education Foundation, that offers school scholarships in high school for the most vulnerable children in our neighborhoods.
All right, and away from that, other stories making headlines across our boundaries. The first bodies from the New Zealand Christchurch mosque massacres were due to be released late today amid growing frustration from victims' families over delays in getting their remains for burial. Islamic custom dictates that the deceased should be buried within 24 hours, but authorities said the complex investigation into the massacre of 50 worshippers during Friday prayers made a quick process difficult.
New Zealanders flocked to memorial sites to lay flowers and mourn the victims of the twin mosque massacres today as testimony emerged of epic heroism and harrowing suffering in the gun attack that has claimed 50 lives. As the bodies of some victims were released to their families, a list circulated by relatives showed they ranged in age between 3 to 77 and included at least 4 women. New Zealand officials said at least one body will be returned on Sunday night and that all 50 should be back with their families by Wednesday. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said a small number of bodies will be returned to families from Sunday evening.
Don't you think Friday was enough for us? And now we have to wait 48 hours. We have been waiting for other bodies to be released. As per Islamic Sharia and law, the bodies, as soon as a person dies, the body is to be buried as soon as possible.
It's not that somebody got a heart attack or somebody got this and that. So I guess leaving them for the burial, I think that's the time when the actual grief will start. You know, at the moment people are upset and frustrated and things like that. But I'm not going to talk against the authorities because they have their own rules and regulations, but they are balancing between the cultural and religious views, and they are also balancing the local laws as well.
Earlier, Pakistan High Commissioner to New Zealand, Abdul Malik, said that 6 Pakistan nationals were confirmed among the dead and 3 nationals remained missing. At least 2 families had also requested that the bodies of their loved ones be repatriated to Pakistan, a process that could take up to 10 days.
And hundreds of thousands of voters crowded into schools, parking lots and temples across Thailand, eager to cast an early ballot a week before the country's first election in 8 years. Advanced voting is usually a tepid affair, but today excitement was high as voters stand up in droves to polling stations. More than 2.3 million Thais are expected to vote before the official March 24th poll date. In Dusit district, home to military offices and government buildings, voters crowded in a schoolyard before a polling station opened. People dressed in their work clothes, military uniforms, hospital scrubs and more casual attire waited patiently to cast their ballot, aided by student helpers. More than 51 million Thais are eligible to vote in the official March election, which will be held under a new military scripted constitution. And a police officer was killed in DR Congo on Saturday as violence broke out after the crushing defeat of new President Felix Tshisekedi's party in the Friday's Senate election. The protests were held on Friday night and Saturday in the capital Kinshasa, where the party also failed to win a single Senate seat despite having 12 MPs in the provincial assembly.
The protests witnessed in the New Democracy broke out on Friday and were linked to a failure by President Felix Tshisekedi's UDPS, the Democratic Republic of Congo's largest and oldest political party, to win a single Senate seat in the central Kasai Oriental province. Witnesses say the UDPS fighters conducted what they termed as punitive expeditions in the residences of some provincial deputies after the defeat, a statement that was confirmed by Governor Alphonse Ngoi Kasanji, who was elected as an FCC senator. A policeman was confirmed dead by the country's police force.
We are unhappy. We show our unhappiness. How can you understand that the ruling party may miss a senator? The ruling party cannot miss a senator. We have had a member of a parliament. We have had members of parliament. These deputies have been deceived.
UDPS held protests in the capital, where the party also failed to win a single Senate seat despite having 12 MPs in the provincial assembly. Tshisekedi won a surprise victory in the presidential elections held on December 30th after 3 postponements, beating opposition leader Martin Fayulu, whom pre-vote polls had predicted would prevail. Kabila, who was a former president, has become a senator for life. Meanwhile, gathered the leaders of the FCC coalition's 18 members party at his farm last month and pressed them to sign a loyalty pledge.
And back into the country, every year the news headlines highlight cases of female genital mutilation among young girls across the country, which are then followed by a battery of anti-FGM campaigns that have since proven fruitful in reducing the number of girls that have dropped out of school as a result of FGM. However, in Mogocho, along the border of Nakuru and Baringo counties, a new trend seems to be taking root, that of married women getting the cart in a bid to save their unions. And TV's Bridget Singana now brings us the tales of marriages by the blade.
At her advanced age, Elizabeth Parter deftly puts her affairs in order in her homestead. Mama Elizabeth, as she is commonly known, has become a refuge unto women who, and mothers whose daughters have been chased out of their matrimonial homes, the offense being uncircumcised. On this day, as is fast becoming the norm, some women with the same predicament have come for advice. Margaret Kipruto had brought her grandchild with her. Her daughter lost her marriage 3 years ago for defying her husband's command to have her go through female genital mutilation.
Kwa watoto yangu yote hakuna ile imeenda. Kwa maana hata mimi mwenyewe nimekataa kuenda kuharibu mtoto ya mwenyewe. Na sasa kwa vile hawa wanaume anaendanga na imekatazwa kwa wasichana ikai. Sasa kwa ya nini kuharibu mtoto ya mwenyewe?
The women in the room, while confessing to have undergone the cut in their days before marriage, now voice their united displeasure of how the refusal to get the cut is affecting their society. Those women who do not give in to this age-old right are fast losing their marriages, and the number of single mothers are on the rise in the community.
Lazima tutakataa hiyo mambo. Mwenye nataka ukataza watoto yake akatai. Kama ndikuvukushwa ikae nyumbani ikae. Kwa maana hiyo hawezi penda wasichana aende kiundoni.
Mimi nilipitia hapo. Sasa hawezi nyima mtoto akienda huko. Lakini saa hizi watoto wanasoma, bado wanasoma hapo shule za hii.
15 years ago, women would gather at Mama Elizabeth's home, but for a different reason. They would come seeking her services, the very thing she now spiritedly fights, female genital mutilation. The cut then regarded as the gateway to womanhood and marriage.
Saa ingine nalipo 200 kwa mtoto ile iko na mjamzito, kwa sababu mimi nasema sasa hii mjamzito hii inaweza litia mimi maradhi ama tabu mingi, lakini ile iko mzima ni shilingi 150 ama saa ingine 100.
That was the turning point for Mama Elizabeth that led her to retire her blade and take on the role of an anti-FGM campaigner. Now she wears this new hat with a fearless determination. The women tell me that the current trend of failed marriages is because of the men who seem to be the main reason behind women opting for the cut well into their marriages and even after the birth of children, for that matter.
Mara nyingi tukiongea na hao mama wanatuambia kwamba shida inatoka kwa nyumba ndani. Kuna mama alituambia mzee yake alikuwa akiambia hebu shika hiyo kitu yako, sitaki nikuse nikifanya kazi yangu mpaka nimalize.
Sasa vitu kama hiyo ilifanya wengine wakaenda.
2 years ago, about 70 women are said to have undergone the cut in Banita, Nakuru County. A sizable number of those women were already married when they were cut.
Ile services hata wanaofa. Unaofariwa na mtu mwenye unakuta ni mtu mchafu. Shosho mwenye unaona ameseeka si msafi. Na wakati umeshatairiwa hiyo kupona inakuwa ngumu sana.
Globally, the United Nations estimates that about 200 million women and girls are believed to have undergone some form of female genital mutilation. But now, these women are confident that their objection to FGM will yield fruit, as they have partnered with a local civil rights group that has been actively reaching out to the married and creating awareness that female genital mutilation is a form of sexual violence.
We involve the stakeholders, the gatekeepers in the society. Now they come on board. They now see the effects of FGM. And so now, slowly but slowly, we've had villages where they've declared their anti-FGM villages.
In her simple home, Elizabeth Parta, a reformed female genital mutilation practitioner, has been giving advice to the women in this community to stop circumcising their daughters. Surprisingly, the men in this community continue to remain mum of an issue that still continues to be a thorn in the flesh of their women. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru.
I thank you so much, Bridget Sangana, for that very comprehensive report there. Well, Ida Waringa is on standby now and will be bringing us all the stories that are making headlines in the sporting world.
Afternoon to you. Quite a sporting day. My name is Ida Waringa. Let's get right into it. And Simon Ngige and Justice Madoya will continue flying the country's flag high at the 2019 European Tour Magical Kenya Open Golf Championship presented by ABSA that enters round 3 at the Karen Country Club. The duo posted positive results to avoid the second cut and sail into the final day of action. Overnight leader Italy's Guido Migliozzi, who fired a brilliant 7-under par 64 to the top with Spain's Adri Arnaud on 14 under par total, is also in line for this year's title. Brian Otwal is in Karen.
Thank you so much, Ida. And the chase for the 20 million shillings right here comes down to the final day. And I'm joined by Justice Madoya, just briefly to talk to me about his final day after making the cut of the 72. I'm being told to tone it down because right now there is a group that is teeing off right there. But then just briefly, as he comes to join me and tell me how this final round has been for him, Justice Madoya, who's been one of the 2 Kenyans who've made it to this final round, and that's 79 players that having second round of cut from 79 players down to 72. Just briefly, Justice, you made it to that final 2, but the Kenyans who are in this, how is the final day for you this day?
The final day today, it wasn't very good, but I managed to maintain, and then I finished off 4 over today, which was not very good today.
So far, how do you rate this competition, being that, yes, it hasn't been easy for all Kenyans, being that it only came down to you and Simon Ngige?
Yeah, it is a big level of the tournament. This competition is a very big level that if it could not come to our country, it will be hard for us to play in it. Right. So it's also higher levels where you meet these big boys who are playing in the higher levels, very good players. So it was a good feeling to go in it. Yeah.
And from a player's perspective, perhaps, what do you think should be done moving forward to see that at least the Kenya Rex in a victory in this competition?
Yeah, what need to be done, already it has started. The Safari Tour is doing very well. So that one will make the Kenyan pros to play in it and win it as they get the support of the Safari Tour.
All right. Thank you so much, Justice Madoya. Larry, briefly, just to tell me briefly, it is not panning out so well for these 2 Kenyans.
Well, it's as far as I'm concerned, I think they did their best, because this is a very stiff competition.
You know, they are playing with the people who are playing almost every weekend, and very experienced players. So I think our players try their best for a start. You know, I think next year with the Safari Tour on, I think we are likely to have more players in the Kenya Open doing well.
The 20 million seemingly going to a foreigner?
Well, it looks like.
All right.
Yeah, as it is now, I think it looks like. But why not? We can always have a go in next year.
All right. Yeah. And from a marketing perspective and from the Kenya Tourism Board, we have Betty, who believes that this is a stepping stone for better things for Kenya.
Indeed it is. This tournament has allowed us to be viewed in over 590 million homes globally because it's being beamed live.
Okay.
It has also brought us star players from a number of countries,
okay,
and that will allow people, number one, to follow their star players from those countries.
Thanks a lot for that, Brian. I was there on Friday, and it's quite the atmosphere in Karen. Some football now, and Kenyan champions Gor Mahia take on Angolan giants Petro Atletico in a do-or-die CAF Confederation Cup match at the Moi International Sports Center Kasarani this evening, with their fate in their hands for the second successive season. With Zamalek atop with 8 points, followed by NA Hussein Day and Petro, who have 7 each, Gor Mahia need an outright win against the Angolan giants to book a place in the quarterfinals for the first time in over 20 years. Petro Atletico last qualified for the last 8 in 2006. 35 million shillings await Kogalo should they qualify for that next round. The match will be played under floodlights at Kasarani starting at 7 p.m. All roads undoubtedly leading to Kasarani later on. But Kenya's representatives at this year's Africa Women's Club Volleyball Championship, Kenya Prisons and Kenya Pipeline, will be hoping for a first win as they open their title chase in the Continental Showpiece in Cairo, Egypt. 2013 champions Kenya Prisons face ASEC of Ivory Coast, chasing their 6th title in the competition. Pipeline, who will be gunning for a 7th title after clinching the title in 2005, open their campaign against Rwanda Revenue. On Saturday, 2006, Africa Volleyball Club champions KCB opened their quest for a 2nd title with a 3-0 thrashing of DGSP of Congo. World Boxing Council Women's Super Bantamweight champion Fatuma Iron Fist Zarika is back in the country from Liverpool, UK, where she had been training for the last 1.5 months in readiness for Saturday's Nairobi fight night. Zarika was accompanied by her British trainer Declan O'Rourke and Tanzanian rising sensation Hassan Champez Mwakinyo. The two had been in the UK courtesy of their sponsor gaming firm SportPesa, to prepare for the Nairobi night fight slated for Saturday next week at the KICC Lawns. Zarika will put her belt on the line against Zambian challenger and former WBC champion Catherine Ferry. Let's cross borders now, and Sergio Aguero's controversial late winner ensured Manchester City dramatically kept their quadruple bid on track as they came from 2 goals behind to beat Swansea 3-2 and reach the FA Cup semi-finals, having trailed on a late pit stop to upset his world champion teammate Lewis Hamilton and clinch the season-opening Australian Grand Prix for Mercedes with the best race of his life. Starting a second against Celta Vigo to give coach Zinedine Zidane a winning start on his return to Real Madrid. Isco out of favor under previous coach Santiago Solari. Zizou there seemingly changing the tide at the Santiago Bernabeu. That wraps it up for sports. For now, we play again tonight. I'm Ida Waringa.
All right, thank you so much, Ida Waringa, for all that news making headlines in the world of sports. And this is where we end our bulletin this hour. Many thanks for keeping us company. More news in our subsequent bulletins. My name is Zeynab Ismael. Good afternoon.